Hello friends, today we're talking about Mexican hot chocolate stouts and Parti-gyle. So let's get to it. All right, today I have an awesome beer for you called Chupacabra. It's a Mexican hot chocolate stout with a bunch of peppers, cacao nibs, and cinnamon. And it's tasting really good, but it's kind of an impromptu beer that came about from a big barrel-aged stout brew. So a couple of friends and I brewed a whole bunch of stout, 15 gallons worth, that's sitting in a barrel right over there, aging. However, we did take advantage of a huge grain bill, something like 80-90 pounds plus, because it was a big beer, and then we put some extra hot water in it to create a Parti-gyle beer. So after our initial mash was done for our stout, we drained that off, and then we actually refilled the mash tun with another batch of hot water. So we did a second mash technically, and that's exactly what Parti-gyle brewing is. So Parti-gyle brewing is, by definition, is a very old method of brewing, and is a great technique for making several distinct beers from one mash. It works by performing one mash, draining it, and performing a second mash with the same grain. So we're just recycling our same grain and making free beer, which is amazing. And you could do this with a whole bunch of varieties with gravities anywhere 1080, 1090 plus. I've made a New England IPA and saisons from this type of beers before. I used Spelt and Turo in one of them. I've also made IPA and the cream ale. That was awesome. Used the SO5 yeast and the cream ale and different yeast on IPA. And of course, Imperial Stout and Stout, which brings us to this beer here. And again, it's called Chupacabra because it's Halloween season around here. And I thought it would be a fitting name for a Mexican hot chocolate stout. In this beer, I used a bunch of cacao nibs that I had lying around. That's what gave me the idea for the beer. I went to Cancun and got these cacao nibs. I wanted to make a Mexican hot chocolate stout. Eventually, I just haven't gotten around to it. And the second running beer was really like an opportunity, and it's kind of like happy little accidents, you know, you like have these ingredients lying around and you're like, wow, I have this beer, I don't know what to do with it. So I went for it and also threw in some hot peppers into it. I'm gonna use a glove here because I don't want to get spice stuff all over my hands. Guajillo chilies. These absolutely beautiful chilies have give it a nice smoky flavor, and I steeped 2 of them for 5 gallons at first. They were the first to go in. And then I put cacao nibs and Ancho chilies. Ancho chilies are awesome. So Guajillo is like this nice smoky flavor. Anchos are like this big smoke and like spice flavor. It's a quintessential flavor from a lot of the stouts. I believe Chocovesa utilizes the same peppers, and they're absolutely awesome. And my #1 personal favorite pepper for a type of stout, especially after initially putting Guajillo. The beer was nice and smoky, a little roasty. It was okay, but like I was really blown away after adding 4 ounces of cacao nibs, roasted of course, and these peppers. And that's what really kicked it off. And then finally, I finished this beer with a little bit of cinnamon. And don't make fun of me, I usually take pride in my ingredients, but I used my Spice Rack cinnamon here. That's what I had on hand. It actually came out really good. So it's quite a surprise to me. So is the beer overall. I'm kind of blown away by it. On the nose, it's a lot of peppers and smokiness. It kind of hides the stout in a way, but when you taste it, the flavor is pretty crazy. So first it's just like roasty stout, but then it's followed up by the hot pepper note and maybe a little bit of cinnamon and chocolate in the end. It's really interesting. I've been drinking this for the past week, and I've really dug how the flavors evolve as you keep drinking it. So second sip is a lot of cinnamon, and it's pretty crazy because the first sip is so different. You get the roast and then the pepper heat hits you after that, but then it's all cinnamon after that, and the heat isn't really like a prevailing note there, which is what I like about it. You get the sense of the heat there, it's there. Then the cinnamon takes over, and this like baked good and this like baked chocolate cake note that's in there, like cacao. Pretty big there, which is awesome. So definitely happy little accidents. I didn't think the stout was gonna, I didn't have very much expectation for it. It was just like free beer. I'm like, okay, well, whatever. I'm gonna throw some US-05 at it. See what happens. I forgot to add a whole bunch of hops when we were boiling it. I added like half of them, like 15 minutes. It probably has like 15 IBU at best, but nonetheless, the roast balances the bitterness nicely anyway, and so does the pepper heat. So maybe somehow it worked out, and because it's tasting really good. But yeah, let's talk about the grain bill here. And this was a huge beer, so there was tons of malts in this, and probably a little more roast than I would usually use for 1070 beer, and that's what the gravity was. And this second runnings or Parti-gyle beer. And it did finish at 1025, and here is the grain bill. So we used 57% two-row, 10% Thomas Fawcett malted oats, 7% pale chocolate, 7% crisp chocolate malt, which, by the way, personal favorite. Crisp chocolate kicks butt. I would pick it over any day. 5% Briess brown malt, 5% double roasted crystal, another awesome malt by Simpsons, and then 5% honey malt, and 5% Carafa II, just some debittered malt that has like this huge chocolate presence. So that was the grain bill for our big stout. If I was gonna try to rebrew Chupacabra here again, I'd probably scale down those malts. The roasted malts don't come through as much in second runnings beer as they do in the first mash runnings. So definitely something to keep in mind, but I'm so happy with how this came out. And Bob Ross's words, it's happy little accidents almost, right? This beer wasn't an accident, but it was just kind of an afterthought. It was something like, oh, okay, let's throw some yeast in here and see how it works out. I used US-05, and then I was like, why not mess with some crazy ingredients like hot peppers? And at first I wasn't sure what to think of it. I don't think I would like it, but now that it's the roast has settled down a little bit and the peppers have kicked in, it's just like crazy fun beer. And I love having it, especially around Halloween time, which is the reason for its name. I wanted to get some fairy tale creature for it. So my friends and neighbors have been loving it too. So yeah, if any of you guys brew Parti-gyle or second runnings beers, let me know. It's an absolutely awesome method, and I've personally brewed some amazing beers through this method before. So definitely take advantage of it if you haven't. It's a missed opportunity if you're making a big beer, that's for sure. Otherwise, thanks for tuning in, and catch you in a few weeks. Cheers.